Alright YouTube, welcome. I just wanted to make a brief, very short video because it is late and there are people sleeping here. I'm try to keep my voice down, but I wanted to make a quick video about survival. And this is something that I don't see most people taking very seriously. Now, chances are when I said survival, you immediately thought of, stocking up on survival food, things like seeds and water and things of that nature. And to some extent, that's what I'm referring to, but the survival that I'm actually, trying to convey a message about is the survival of you. What do you do every day to ensure your survival? And what I'm trying to convey or create a similarity here is, I'm comparing survival and health. The two are intimately connected. They're one and the same. What do you do every day to ensure your survival? In nature, we clearly see that there's a common law, and that is the survival of the fittest. Do you do things every day to ensure your health? If you do not do things every day to ensure your health, it simply means that every day you are consecutively most likely losing your health. If you have not gone out of your way to detoxify and get rid of a lot of the accumulated poisons that are in your tissues, in your alimentary tract, that you have stored from years of eating standard American foods, then you are not stimulating survival. When we leave these poisons inside of our system, it leads to acute intestinal toxemia, auto-intoxication. So the average American walks around with multiple pounds of waste in his or her system, and I'm not just saying this. I know for a fact that this is the case because I've seen this stuff come out of me. I've seen it come out of loved ones. I had a glitch there on my computer. Looks like I'm having a battery issue here, you guys. Let's see if that fixes it. But the waste is abundant. Let's just put it that way. And most people are walking around with this stuff stuck in their system, stuck in their tissues. It's insane. What do you do every day to ensure your survival? What do you do to ensure that your health stays at an all-time high? Don't you want to live as long as you can? Don't you want to defy all the odds that are working against you? And this culture does not have your best interest at heart, ladies and gentlemen. This culture will feed you foods that are soft kill systems, that is basically suicide with flavor. Be careful what you eat because you can dig a grave with your teeth. Nature has the answers. I'm not going to get on here and say that nature doesn't have its flaws, because in my opinion it does. But nature grows foods that we can benefit from greatly. We can work with nature by consuming the herbs, by consuming the fruits, by consuming the vegetation. We can consume foods that we grow with our own hands. You have any clue how therapeutic it is to get your hands in the soil and to grow your own produce, to grow your own fruits and vegetables, to grow your own sprouts? Simple things like this lead to massive changes in the psyche over time because they accumulate beneficial virtues by default, by engaging in them. Consuming the herbs, ladies and gentlemen, the herbs are very special. I hoard herbs. I collect herbs. My girl and I have massive amounts of herbs. Various herbs, from things like stone root to, things like hibiscus to pau d'arco bark to horsetail. I keep getting a notification on my computer. It's driving me bonkers. I keep seeing the light flash. We also collect things like tinctures. And I've sure as hell have tons of different capsulated herbs This is a very fun thing to do, you guys, to engage in working on your own health, stimulating that survival gene. And I'm not talking about being stuck out in nature and like fighting off the elements. I'm talking about survival in the sense of you doing things every day to ensure that your health is continually rising, because a continuing of your health rising leads to a state of radiant health. We have the potential, you guys, to reach a state of health known in Chinese medicine as health beyond danger. This is also known as enlightenment, Thoth, or Thoth, or Toth, depending on how you pronounce it, in the Emerald Tablets of Tahuti. Goes on to talk about this, that man can enter a state of consciousness through enlightenment of the Kundalini, where no tragedy can befall him. This is when man becomes the angelic perfected demigod that he was put here to be. We've fallen so far, you guys, that we can't even remember what it's like to be a true human. And true humanity is enlightenment. That is what it is our birthright, but we've forgotten that. We've had our genes and our chromosomes, our entire genome manipulated through toxic food, wrong thinking, genetics, you name it. So health is definitely, I mean, what are you striving for? Are you trying to just go through the motions in life, or do you really want to push the envelope? I want to push the envelope. I want to attain the impossible. And every day I feel like I get closer and closer and closer. Do you have faith in yourself? Is your journey exciting? So many people have so much boredom in their life. When you take care of your health, when you start working with these different herbs and the seeds in the natural kingdom, when you start taking these things, your life gets more vivid. It becomes much more interesting. It becomes much more engaging. When you consume the information from nature, you look at nature differently, and nature looks at you differently, and you become one and the same. This is when your avatar, this is when you begin to level up, so to speak. You see, so many people are interested in video games, and they waste time playing these things. And in many video games, the goal is to level your character up. People find that kind of thing very engaging and very interesting and fun. Ladies and gentlemen, you can upgrade your own character every day through your actions, through your thoughts, through what you give your time to, through what you do with your time. It all comes down to time. Time is your worst enemy, ladies and gentlemen. Time is your worst enemy. It can also be your best friend, depending on the seeds that you sow. Saturn has taught me, ladies and gentlemen, now that I'm just now completing my first Saturn transit from an astrological perspective, that time is either your worst enemy or your best friend. And squandering time is probably the greatest, if there ever was a sin, I think wasting time would be one of the greatest sins. Because entire empires can be built in time. Worlds can change if people give their time to things that stimulate evolution. So do you evolve yourself? Do you have limitations? Do you put limitations on yourself? What do you believe is possible? I don't believe anything is impossible. And because of that, my life is much different than the average human. I experienced Kundalini Christ consciousness in my early 20s, and it completely rewired my mind and my body. If we only could remember even but a glimpse of the beauty of what it is to be enlightened, this world would be a completely different place, I think. People would have something to finally compare reality to. You see, everybody thinks reality right now is just the norm, or that we've reached the peak of evolution as a species, as humans, because they don't have anything to compare it to. They've never experienced things above what they're currently experiencing, and because of that, they think that this land of the bottom feeder reality, the underworld or hell, and the consciousness that is experienced here in hell, they think that this is normal. This is far from normal. This is a very strange world, ladies and gentlemen. This is a very strange world. And if you don't think it's a strange world, it's because you've never seen what I've seen. Have you ever seen a slum in India? Have you ever seen a slum here in the United States? The majority of the world and its inhabitants are currently suffering. And this is why it bothers me when people, I'm not even going to get into it, excuse me. It's late. I need to get going. What do you do with your time? I want to ask you guys this. What do you do with your time? I would love to see this world change for the better. I would love to see this world not have to go down the road it's currently going down, and I've seen what could eventually happen. I've said it once and I'll say it one more time. Said this in a really old video. A very close friend of mine, or someone blood related to me, one night we were staring into this really interesting crystal. I used to be really into crystals, and my first set of crystals I bought this chakra crystal set, and it came with like 3 or 4 stones for each chakra. So, you know, there was stones for the root chakra, the Muladhara chakra, all the way up to the crown, you know. And the third eye chakra, one of the stones was this clear piece of quartz that looked exactly like a brain. It had 2 hemispheres. It even had a little area on the back that resembled a cerebellum. If you held this stone at the right angle in the light, there was a perfect circle in the middle where the pineal gland went. It reflected all 7 colors of the rainbow. There was something very, very special about this stone. And now, unfortunately, that stone is no longer in my possession. But one night, this person who is very close to me, we took this crystal. It's about the size of a golf ball, and we put it on top of an LED flashlight. And I turned the LED flashlight on and turned the lights off in the room. And we just were kind of mesmerized by the beauty of this crystal. Because when the light hit the crystal, it illuminated everything inside of it. And you could see all these little striations and whatnot. And the crystals really came to life. And as we stared into it, this fog kind of came around the crystal. And I'm talking to this person. I'm like, do you see this? And he's like, holy crap, what is that? And we just kept staring at it. And before you know it, inside the crystal, we saw cities being destroyed. We saw fighter jets destroying entire nations. We saw tanks running street poles over, in absolute anarchy and chaos here on Earth. Now, before you think I'm crazy and that I'm a loon for saying that we saw this stuff, I'd like to tell you that crystals can tell you information. They are memory cards of the Earth, and they can also predict things like a computer algorithm, because they're connected to the collective consciousness of humanity. It's much more complicated than that, but this is known as crystal scrying. Scrying, scrying. Scrying is the art of gazing into objects and receiving oracles from them, especially crystals. Where do you think all that crystal ball symbolism comes from with witches? Scrying is a very real thing. Look into the work of Edward Kelly and Dr. John Dee from the 1500s. The individuals who scryed information out of a shoe stone and completely received the Enochian language from the angels. Now, I'm not going to get into these subjects because they're very expansive, and I risk myself looking like a loon by even saying the stuff that I just told you, but I don't care. The truth is the truth, regardless of whether or not you acknowledge it or not, or chances are your programming will dictate whether or not you receive this information. But we have the opportunity to collectively change, and you have the ability to influence that change. Just like all of the fish in a relative area, if you throw a pebble in a pond, will feel all the ripples. You can effectively manipulate your body and your mind and your beliefs and your thought patterns to effectuate the vibratory permeations of your thoughts in the collective consciousness, and the ripples of those thoughts and your actions can actually inspire other people to change unconsciously. Peace be with you all.